There is a way to turn regret into joy, and that joy, in turn, can change the future. Recently, it came to my attention that I'm not always honest with myself, particularly with regards to food. Food is kind of a narrow road for me. When I get off the road, my body tells me I'll have heart palpitations, heavy fatigue, trouble breathing at times, or at least trouble getting enough oxygen to the whole body, and it can shut me down. And a while back, I really found myself thinking, desiring to change in such a way that I don't put myself through all of that. Now, I've tried to change my diet for years, and many would probably say that for the most part, my diet is better than the average for sure. But for me, it's not necessarily, I guess the way I'll put it is that it's what I said, and that is that it's a narrow road for me. Getting off the road is easy. And I realize that I'm not always honest with myself in regards to that. Sometimes I look for reasons to cheat, excuses that will allow me to eat something that I know is risky. And I thought, I really need help. I really want to change this. I found myself praying, oh God, please help me in all of this. And I began to curb some things and to be more strict for a day or two. But I know myself pretty well, and I know that such resolutions often don't last very long. And then a few days into my resolve, I was invited to dinner. Now, an invitation to dinner, for me, is a really good chance to cheat. My mind makes all sorts of excuses about being polite and considerate and not offending the host. But deep down, I think I know that they're excuses. Well, this night, I really prayed that God would help me to make a good choice. I even brought some of my own food. Now, I left my food in the car because I wanted to see what they had, and maybe because there's a lying part of me that wants to cheat. But I don't think so completely. I did want to eat some of what they had offered. I did want to be cordial if it was possible. But I was feeling very weak. Well, I sat down at the table, and they brought out the food. And maybe it was all the prayers that came before the meal, I don't know. But I realized as I was looking at it that I really did want to eat well and not to go home feeling sick. And I turned down the meat. I was so grateful, because meat makes my heart flop around like a dying chicken. And I turned down the gravy, which can be even worse. I did take about a tablespoon of mashed potatoes, which I was sure had butter or margarine in them, which my body doesn't handle well. But the tablespoon didn't seem to do me in. But probably wasn't the best choice. They had these things which in my former life had been called oven pancake. But this was an English family, and they were calling it Yorkshire pudding, which is nothing like pudding at all. But it was a little like cupcake sort of thing with what I would have called a little piece of oven pancake in it that they'd cooked in a little tin. And they actually handed that right in front of me, and so I did take one and I ate one. And that didn't seem to do me in. But they also had asparagus and they had carrots, and I ate some asparagus and I ate some carrots. My little Yorkshire pudding without any gravy on it. And I had my tablespoon of mashed potatoes with some sort of butter or something in it. And I was feeling really good, really good. I wasn't feeling sick. And spiritually, I really felt like I was in a good place. And something about making the difficult choices helped with that, I believe. But then they brought out dessert. Now, dessert was fresh pineapple. And something inside of me thought, oh, pineapple, fresh fruit. I can have as much of that as I want. And I ate too much. And then I finished off the asparagus, and by the time I finished off the asparagus, I'd eaten too much, and my head was droggy like it gets. I felt fatigued. And I've learned a long time ago that guilt is not my friend. And so it was fine. I felt I'd done well for the night, but at the same time, there was a little part of me that wished that I would have been a little bit more careful and not gotten to that droggy state. So the next morning, this morning, I wrote in my food journal, which I've started back up again, and I wrote about last night. And as I was writing, I remembered something that I had read that Neville Goddard said, and he talked about whenever you go through a day and you get to the end of the day, rehearse in your mind the events of the day, and if there's anything you would have done differently, go back through it and imagine having done the thing you would have done. So if you made some sort of mistake, did something that you regretted, redo it in your mind, and then he said, feel how it feels to have made the right choice. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I could do that. And so that's what I did. And I rewrote the evening. Last night I ate dinner with friends. I decided to abstain from meat and mashed potatoes and the oven pancake. Instead, I had some asparagus and carrots, which were delicious. They brought out fresh pineapple for dessert, and I had a small helping. The whole night I felt so alert and attentive. I had energy and felt the life force of God's Spirit flow through me. And I was able to attend to the family with a single spirit. I found that I was naturally able to relax and to abstain from speaking except wherein my comments seemed appropriate and inspired. I found that this also filled me with a good energy. I rewrote my night, and I pretended that that was what had happened, and it felt so good. And then I thought, I want to share this story. I want to share this thought with my podcast, my YouTube channel. And so I wrote my own little piece, and this is what I wrote. Re-experience your regrets. Go back and do them over again in your mind, and change your choices. Make new choices for the past, and then let the joy of your fictitious past propel you into brighter tomorrows. so that through imagination it won't be long before your choices catch up with your intention and make not only the past but the present into a reflection of your best and truest intent. I feel so grateful for this little insight. So grateful that God reminded me of that little piece out of Neville's book, and that through imagination, through belief and trust and hope, and by looking into the dark place of our regrets, that there seems to be a way to turn them into joy and experience the reality of a change of heart, perhaps, a change in the way of being, before we've seen it with our eyes. I hope that helps. God bless.